We have a society that likes balance in our government.
My political party most often is Republican.
I kind of pick and choose. I probably lean more towards the Democratic Party.
I would say the Democrats are representing me.
I'm more of an independent.
I hate independence.
I think that the two-party system is probably the best way to go.
The two-party system is ridiculous.
I'm nominally Republican, but it's an unhappy relationship.
So, honey, did you get taxes lowered today?
The bailouts were a necessary evil.
Nothing's too big to fail.
I think that we would have seen a much worse economy.
We've got people in Congress passing bills as if government was a source of money.
I've got it. We can print more money.
I think global warming is a very serious issue.
Global warming doesn't exist.
The polar bears are gonna die.
We're naive to think that us humans here on the earth aren't impacting.
Do we really know for sure it's because of man-made stuff?
I'm not going to sit there and scream for either side because nobody knows.
I think the government does have a responsibility to deal with global warming or really anything that affects its citizens.
Today, the president declared war on global warming.
Federal bills can be thousands of pages.
The 2,000-page bills is excessive, especially with the time frame that they're giving them.
I would hope that Congress read the bills.
They're not being read by anyone.
When they write the bill, they write it in a certain language that is hard to understand.
Don't you think it'd be better to write the bill in English?
No.
I do feel that people were tricked into getting mortgages they couldn't afford.
The current recession that we're in was not because, the greedy banks.
The greed that goes behind it. They'll give loans to anybody because of all the money they get when they make a loan.
He's the one with the mortgage. I told him not to get it.
Healthcare is a real challenge in our country.
Healthcare is not a right.
I think it's a fundamental right.
I think socialized healthcare would be the resolution.
Don't have a stance on it.
I think it's a terrible idea.
I don't want to be taxed to pay for someone else's insurance when it's hard enough for me to take care of my own.
Listen up, you big bitch. I've got 3 patients at the hospital ready to go home, and you're gonna pay their bill. You got that? You got that?
Yeah.
Pussy.
I think on most issues, Americans have a feel for the issue and will react to it, even though it's not extremely knowledgeable and never will be. You know, the American public will never know everything there is to know about every issue that involves the country. But in a democracy, it's important that we measure how Americans generally react to these issues. And on something like healthcare reform, it's quite important.
Honestly, I'm going to say I don't really feel like there is a healthcare crisis right now.
Yes, I would say that there are too many people without health care.
I think the lack of money and the lack of resources is attributing to the healthcare crisis.
We do have health care. Now, whether we think it's a perfect health care system, no, it's not.
Insurance companies, like taking advantage of people, play a part in the healthcare crisis as well.
What I think of healthcare in the country, I don't know. I don't really care.
You keep hearing all these people say, well, there's so many people dying on the streets. Well, show me where that's happening.
Nothing to see here.
Whoa, is he okay?
Yeah, he's fine.
He's napping. Because you can take anyone into the emergency room and they have to be administered to. There's a number of hospitals who've gone bankrupt, out of business, because of the amount of care, free care they've had to give out to people who don't have insurance, who can't pay for it.
I'm in the healthcare field and I see problems every day with the current situation, the way we have it. People are not being treated because they don't have insurance.
So just coat it with some peanut butter and he should take it down just fine.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Andrew?
No one will insure me.
You don't have a dog or a cat?
I really think we need to do something. And I don't know what the answer is, but I think we need to do something.
I believe reform needs to be done. I don't think our current system is sustainable.
Doctors want the change because the insurance companies don't pay them, what they need.
Insurance companies get right into your back pocket, and everything I do now is contracted.
I do think that all in all, America has a very good healthcare system. In fact, it's probably one of the best in the world.
I think that if you have access to it, then the quality of healthcare in the United States is good.
Education should be available to everyone, and I think that good healthcare should be available to everyone, regardless of their age or their socioeconomic status or anything. And I don't think those things are available in this country to everyone.
I mean, the government provides pretty much everybody, education through high school with virtually no cost.
There's cost. We pay our taxes and pay for school.
But not to the public. Anybody can go to high school and they don't have to pay tuition. That's what I'm saying. Anybody can go to the 12th grade, you can pretty much get a free education. That's provided.
Yes.
But I don't think it's the government's job to provide health care for everybody.
I think insurance companies are evil.
I definitely do think that insurance companies are charging more than they should.
The cause of the skyrocketing costs are the insurance companies and their needs to turn a profit.
Precious money.
I know that they have a huge list of certain conditions that make people ineligible for their health insurance plans, and that's simply not fair.
Pre-existing conditions. I've been there. We were honestly scared that my wife had a heart condition that she wasn't going to be able to get health care. It puts you in a pretty scary place where you just realize how helpless you are with these insurance companies making tons of money and denying the people that need it the most.
Physicians want to do the best job they can do, and that is sometimes limited by our ability to get insurance companies or the government to pay for the care that we feel is necessary.
I do think that there are people out there who don't have insurance. Do they expect the government to always be taking care of them? When do we get off our own feet, off of our, get up and go out and take care of ourselves?
Yeah, if I really wanted health insurance, it's not that I don't, but if I really needed it, I could get health insurance.
I don't pay for health insurance right now. I could, but I don't want to. And so I work really hard to remain healthy. I try and eat good food. I try and exercise all the time. I feel like I'm in really good shape.
I don't get it. I'm in such great shape.
You broke your arm.
But I exercise.
The bone snapped in 3 places.
I mean, I work out every day, sometimes twice.
You fell from a 2-story balcony.
So for the future, what do you recommend? More curls?
I'm not very well off, but I mean, if I really wanted and needed insurance, well, then maybe I'd stop paying my cable bill and I'd start paying for health insurance. It's just a priority difference for me.
When I'm no longer a dependent, I won't have health insurance because I can't afford it.
You can buy insurance,
Have
get
you?
it provided, or make enough money that you can go buy it. There's a lot of programs offered.
Do you know what it costs? Do you have any idea what it costs?
No, but bills.
Would you pay $1,000 for insurance monthly?
For me?
Yeah.
My nephew broke his ankle skateboarding, and he didn't really have insurance. He also lives in Sweden. He's a dual citizen, and so he couldn't get coverage over here. So they basically, what happens is they modified his bill because he didn't have insurance, and the ones who can afford it are basically covering that with their high prices. So there's sort of a built-in system.
For someone who has a good job but works independently, to provide independent health care is very costly.
There's a lot of people that do it.
Healthcare is not a right.
Healthcare is a right? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah.
I feel that way too.
Yes, I think that healthcare is absolutely a fundamental right. I think that it's absolutely unacceptable for a nation to leave some people without health care.
I think there is a right to health care. Is that right to everything that healthcare can possibly provide? I don't think so. Just because you're a woman and you think I need to have a breast augmentation so I'll look better, I don't think you have a right to that.
Healthcare is not a right. We only have certain rights, and rights come from God.
I'm in a lot of pain. I think I have strep. Can you help me?
You know what? It's really not up to me. Let's pray and find out.
Please, I'm in a lot of pain.
Not up to me.
Everyone has the right that if you cut your arm off in an auto accident, somebody's going to care for that.
As soon as you impose a right on somebody else, it's no longer a right. Someone says, I have a cold, you need to treat me. Okay, I'm not a physician that treats colds or cancer or liver disease. You're imposing a service upon somebody else to render to you.
Are you tired of the never-ending healthcare debate? Would you like some help with that? Let the debate mate do the debating for you.
Can you believe this new healthcare reform? It's complete bullshit. They're taking away one civil liberty after another here. I mean, it's unconstitutional. What was Obama thinking when he wrote this, or when he passed it? I mean, he's got to be high. Then you throw Nancy Pelosi in the mix, it's a complete formula for disaster. One word about her, heinous bitch. I mean, we're not living in Canada, for the love of God. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean,
health is a
we're
right.
in the U.S., not Canada. Not the red and white.
You
the
hate
red, white,
America.
and blue. I mean, our forefathers did not
Bush was a
draft
bad
the
president.
Constitution for free healthcare.
Not socialism, compassionism.
It's just getting me in turmoil right now. I'm in such a stir.
Racist.
I'm not really sure why everybody is getting so upset about the current healthcare reform. The way that I understand it, it's all about having a bit more of a compassionate healthcare system, which I totally agree with.
It's just, it doesn't make any sense to me, this whole government healthcare. Actually, it makes perfect sense to me. It is government trying to expand its role and take away liberty from people. That, I believe that wholeheartedly.
The key is to take away all their liberties.
Why would we want to do that?
So they don't have as many liberties.
Yeah? So
that way we have all their liberties.
What?
We can't have liberty when government is telling us what to do, when they're taking away our property, whether it's land or money. And in this case, health care.
Right now, because I don't have health care, I kind of like it, but then it goes back to I don't feel like anyone should be forced to do anything. So while health care is needed, and I don't want to say a normal, but most logical people would want health care, I don't feel like people should be forced to get it.
Please, someone, I need help.
Now you listen up, because I'm only going to say this once. You will let the doctor treat this. You got that?
Well, no shit.
I am in support of the ideas behind the healthcare bill.
I think it's going to make the healthcare in the United States collapse because no one's going to want to go pay hundreds of thousands of dollars to get a medical degree that they won't be able to repay their debts on.
I have mixed feelings for it because I'm an uninsured American and I just was in the hospital for 2 weeks and I have a $15,000 bill. So, you know, I think my mind changed a little bit after that.
Any civilized society with the kind of resources that we have ought to make it a universal thing.
Socialized medicine does not work.
Those who can't afford healthcare will be able to. I feel that right now in America, those who can't afford healthcare, it's not necessarily their fault. And those who can, who have wonderful insurance plans, is simply because, you know, good old dad hooked them up with a really great job.
Whew, you're just so lucky that good old daddy decided to hook you up.
No, actually, I work really hard and I pay a reasonable amount for insurance.
Ooh!
Why am I against the healthcare bill? Because that's an individual responsibility, not the government's responsibility.
I think it's a good idea for the president to try to fix the insurance policy for everybody to have at least some kind of insurance.
If we truly were to allow and open up the healthcare system to competition so that insurance companies can compete with each other over state lines, so that physicians can truly compete against each other, so that they're just not trying to get paid by the insurance companies, but that they can actually set up free market innovative ideas within their own communities for helping the people within their own communities and trying new things, just like any other industry tries new things, or restaurants, how they have specials and sales and all kinds of stuff.
Hi, welcome to Willie's Hospital. Our special today is a full rectal exam, and we're offering a special on scrotal tuckings. Jerry will be your doctor. He'll be with you very shortly.
As far as Obama kind of pushing it through, I think a lot of that kind of maybe tied into his ego. Like in my first year, I got the healthcare bill through, come hell or high water.
If we have public insurance, there's a lot of inequality. We think it's equality, but what happens when someone decides they just don't want to work anymore, and yet they want to utilize the system?
What is this amateur hour horse shit? God, idiots in this office. I can't even take this crap. I quit.
Congratulations, Tom! You're officially unemployed! Tell him what he's won, Bobby!
He's won a free paycheck for the rest of his life, free healthcare till he dies, free college for his children, and a free membership to ISM, the hottest unemployment club in town.
I'll take it.
All right, yes, you will take it.
It happens in our welfare cases today, where people just flat out don't want to work. Well, who gets to pay for all of that? Somebody who's working.
Tax Fairy!
President Obama's had a lot of bad ideas. Chief amongst them is healthcare reform. And I'm actually not going to call it healthcare reform because he's not reforming anything. He's keeping the system as is, but adding $1 trillion worth of costs.
You let capitalism do what it's supposed to do, and it should work. And let the insurance companies be competitive and make them competitive, oversee them, but not be up there gazooey, not me. You know, we got enough healthcare crap. We got enough entitlement problems. It's our whole problems.
Because of the collapse of real estate and the stock market, there's not a lot of money to go around. And Barack Obama wants to further redistribute money to those without health insurance. Well, that's a fine thing to want to do. But there's no money left. There's no money to spread around.
Mom, Billy keeps winning on Nintendo.
Looks like you two are ready for redistribution.
It's redistribution, the game where nobody loses or wins.
I made it to Redistribution Square.
Now just give back the money to everyone behind you and start over.
Yay!
Redistribution, hours of socialist fun.
The cost of such a program could literally break the back of our country. It could break the back of our economy. There are simply too many people with hands out to fund it all.
It's not just a matter of spending, it's a matter of the health and well-being of the nation. How can you be a healthy nation without people who are healthy? I mean, it just defies explanation to me.
No on health care! We don't need health care!
Dude, what's wrong with you?
Don't worry about it. Just a little leprosy.
You have leprosy? Isn't that really contagious?
That's just a scare tactic.
Dude, you need to get treated.
And miss this rally?
I hate forced health care!
Yeah, but in your case, I think it's a good idea.
You're starting to sound just like one of them!
Actually, maybe having everyone on the same plan isn't such a bad thing.
Oh my hell! Kill the bill! Kill the bill! I hate forced health care! No on reform! No on health care!
Canada, as sophisticated as they are, I know for a fact that there are so many people from Canada, because I know a few of them who've told me this, when they have a crisis happen, they come to America to get taken care of.
So did you see that local hockey football game last night?
What football game?
You know, the one from the local province, city, state.
Where did you say you're from again?
America.
So obviously the universal health care is not going to be the answer.
I spent the past 10 years living in Canada. The quality of healthcare was not lower whatsoever.
If America were to move to a socialized medicine, we would become no better than any other country on earth.
We should be more like other countries. In India, you can get your tooth pulled for $4. Here, it's like $1,000.
Other countries have medicine for everybody, so they seem to be getting good medicines. I don't see why we can't.
Equal. When I lived in Russia, I was overwhelmed at the poor health conditions of everyone, and that was socialized healthcare. Anyone could be a doctor. Just telling somebody that you were a doctor was like telling somebody you were a school teacher.
I found it really interesting that a prominent political figure in Canada had heart surgery in the US, and he was criticized for it because it makes Canada's healthcare system look bad.
The leaders of these other countries, they come to America for healthcare because we are the most innovative country as far as healthcare is concerned in the entire world.
This Canadian socialist just made the perfect argument for American healthcare, because what we have that the Canadians don't is choice. Doctors can earn as much money as their patients are willing to pay them for, which means that we have excellent doctors. If your life is on the line, the most highly skilled, competent doctors on the planet are in the United States.
We pay a lot of money in this country compared to other countries, and we're not getting the best.
And our life expectancy is also quite low. I think we're ranked 37th in the world, but we're also the most expensive healthcare system.
My mom was diagnosed with hepatitis C. There is a treatment out there, and one of the reasons we did move to Canada was so we could have access to it. If she had paid for it in the United States, it would have been over $2,000 a month, whereas when she did pay for it in Canada, it was $2 a month. Had we been in the United States, I doubt we would have had a house.
My father was diagnosed with prostate cancer, and his closest friend in Switzerland was diagnosed at the same time. My father was able to get in and get medical help quickly, and his friend died because they're in Switzerland under a social medicine, and it wasn't high enough on the priority list for him to get in to get help.
You hear a lot about other countries who have national health insurance with long waiting lines. If you need to go in for a knee scope because your knee hurts, you might wait months. You need to have your gallbladder out, you might wait months.
I would rather wait a bit longer in the ER if I have a runny nose while they accommodate somebody who has a gunshot wound.
It's a dream if you think it's going to be the way it is now, and you go to the doctor and you make an appointment, you get in, and you might wait 20, 30 minutes. You're talking about waiting a long time and waiting quite a while to get even in.
Whoa, sir, can I help you?
Yeah, I'd like to see a doctor. I got a head wound here. I need attention.
It's a madhouse in there, but we may be able to see you 6 weeks from Tuesday.
6 weeks?
Yeah, like I said, we're full, but could you come back?
who's asking the question of the pharmaceutical companies?
I think, in particular, I really think something needs to be done with the pharmaceutical companies because I really think they control far too much.
What about the deregulation of the pharmaceutical industry? I think it happened back in 1996. And all of a sudden the pharmaceutical companies could start advertising on television, they could start advertising in print, and all of a sudden people now that were perfectly healthy have this thought that, oh yeah, those are my symptoms, I need to go to the doctor. And they go to the doctor, and the doctor is all too excited to be able to prescribe this name brand pharmaceutical. And it's because the pharmaceutical reps have come in and offered to buy the whole office new computers and put them on a junket tour to Hawaii, once a year they go and do that.
Do you feel tired in the morning? Are you urinating more than twice in a 24-hour period? Are you hungry more than 3 times a day? You may be suffering from panemia. Panemia is a serious discomfort in the body's nervous system, but lucky for you, there is an answer. Take control of your life with Pretendicillin. You don't have to suffer. Start living normal. Ask your doctor about Pretendicillin. Side effects may include loss of genitalia, excessive nipple growth, blindness, necrophilia, racism, obsessive-compulsive disorder, deafness of the left ear, extreme vomiting, explosive diarrhea, hallucinations of the cast of The Golden Girls, excessive weight gain, excessive weight loss, wisdom teeth regeneration, or bestiality tendencies. 7 in 10 cases experience some form of death, ranging from mild to severe.
Start feeling normal again.
Are you seriously taking this?
I've seen the same thing with eye doctors, where they'll have a certain prescription of contact lenses that they offer because they have a good relationship with that rep. It's not about, what works best for the patient. It's what works best to make sure that my pharmaceutical rep is happy so that, in 6 months when I need a new set of office computers, I can get the rep to pay for it.
All right, just want to run one more test. Can you see my finger?
Yes.
Can you see it now?
Yes.
How about now?
Yep.
Ah! Son of a bitch! What's wrong?
You almost popped my damn out of my socket.
Oh shit. I've seen this problem before. Lucky for you, there is a solution. It is called Crepea Contacts. They're new on the market. Only $69.99 a piece.
A piece?
Yes, I was surprised at the good deal as well.
No one is asking the pharmaceutical companies, why the costs of healthcare are so expensive. You don't hear any of the discussion about the pharmaceutical companies in the debate over the need to reform healthcare, and that bugs me.
Oh, shit.
I think healthcare reform can definitely affect the quality of healthcare.
This idea that it's going to be just exactly how it is now isn't realistic.
Only because you have to give it to everyone. Like, whether they can afford it or not, they have to get it.
I've heard the argument that you have to have competition to have good health care. And I don't really believe that.
My granddaughter needs help. She has a rare blood disease. I'd like to see your very best doctor, please.
I'm sorry. We don't believe in competition here. Every doctor is equal. Your granddaughter can see Dr. Josh.
But we've never dealt with a Dr. Josh before.
He's relatively new to the clinic.
I'm Dr. Josh. Is there some way that I could help you?
I don't think so.
Dr. Forrest, dial 118, please.
There, you would still have a certain kind of competition, but it would be a competition for excellence and creativity and innovation rather than a competition for funding.
Great news, everybody. Whoever works the hardest and does their job right
is going to be rewarded with 3 extra big hugs for creativity and excellence and innovation.
I think it's just shocking that we would not be able to negotiate rates for drugs under Medicare. I think that it's frightening as I'm approaching the age where I'm eligible for all of that very rapidly. I think it's pretty frightening that some of it might go away or be inadequate to take care of us.
Oh my goodness, sir? Are you all right? Oh, we'll take good care of you. What plan are you on, sir?
Medicare.
Your doctor is over there.
What's up?
What is Medicare? Oh, that's what they have in North Carolina. It's medicine that's available, but I think you have to be a certain age and maybe not have any income at all.
Medicaid is for senior citizens, and Medicare is for young people like us. We got to stay insured just in case anything happens.
Where are you taking Grandpa?
Grandpa's been sick, honey. We're taking him to the farm.
To a farm?
Yeah, don't you think he'll like living at the farm?
The way that the federal government's been able to afford those programs is that they actually pay the doctors less money than it actually takes to deliver procedures and to distribute medicine. And so that the extra costs of those procedures that are covered by Medicare and Medicaid are spread out to private patients that are, paying their own money or through private health insurance.
Medicare and Medicaid are gifts that physicians give to people, because what we get paid by the Medicare and Medicaid programs do not cover the cost of doing business. I get paid by Medicare about 30 cents of the dollar that I charge. If I charged you $1 for something, Medicare would pay me 30 cents.
The federal government needs to figure out some other way to balance Medicaid and Medicare without shortchanging doctors, because if you force them to lose money on patients with federal programs, it has to be made up by making regular customers of healthcare pay more.
None of us out here in America understand everything that's going on in healthcare reform. I don't think the people who are writing the legislation know all of it. It's 2,700 pages for one bill.
I'm assuming the healthcare bill is rather lengthy.
2,700 pages? Oh my God. The Constitution, what is it, 36?
Federal bills can be thousands of pages. Easily.
They're handing this huge novel and saying, hey, you need to read through this bill, and by the way, I need it in 72 hours. So yeah, it's a bit ridiculous.
They're not being read by anyone. They're too long. They're over 1,000 pages, and they have usually 72 hours to read them. And sometimes they'll do it on the weekends, which doesn't even give most people time to read it.
I would hope that Congress read the bills that are being passed.
I remember watching an interview with Ben Nelson, and they were saying, Senator Nelson, have you read the bill? Oh, of course not. It's incomprehensible. I couldn't read that. When they write the bill, they write it in a certain language that is hard to understand.
Bakta, Guka, Tiha, Maj, Baktag, Tiha. It's Klingon. Guka, Tiha.
Don't you think it'd be better to write the bill in English?
No, you don't understand politics, David.
If they can't write a bill that I myself can't pick up and read and understand the first time it's written, then it shouldn't be written that way.
I don't think the bills are readable, and I think it's done that way purposely. I think that obviously they have lawyers, groups of lawyers who write up these bills, and I think the language in them obviously can't be read by the average human being.
Here you go.
What the hell is this?
What?
The font.
Yeah?
Yellow text on white paper? Is this a good idea?
Duh, that's the point.
They can basically do whatever they want with the bill, put whatever, little nuances in it that people aren't going to understand, which is going to allow them more control over the people.
Just tons of crap in them that, I think they could simplify the whole process and not hide little earmarks and stuff like that in there.
The reason that the bills are so long, I'm assuming that they're throwing a lot of pork into it.
I think the Democrats and Republicans have a challenge of trying to balance what is good for their party versus what is good for their country.
I think both parties bring good things and bad things to the table.
I wish they would work together. That, the good ideas from Republicans and good ideas from Democrats.
They're so divided and so against one another that I don't always think they consider the best interest.
It's kind of a sad situation. No one's working together, and that's why there's no solutions being found.
I think the criticism has gotten out of hand, and news being available like it is today, I think I can't say the word, sensualizes.
What are you trying to say?
You know?
There's some pretty outrageous behavior going on a lot of people's parts. They got to work together. We got to get back to talking across the aisle and working together to get things done for the country.
My political party most often is Republican. Not always, but most often.
I'm nominally Republican, but it's an unhappy relationship. I have beaten wife syndrome. No matter how much they keep decking me in the face, I keep staying.
So, honey, did you get taxes lowered today?
Oh! What did I tell you about asking me that question?
I'm a card-carrying Republican.
I am a Republican.
Well, there's no other alternative. The Libertarian Party's full of wackos and militia people. The Democratic Party's full of also wackos, but a different kind of wacko, kind of a pussy wacko type of a situation. So I'm left with the Republicans, and they're full of hypocrites. They don't actually do what they say that they're going to do.
The political party I belong to is the Democratic Party.
I consider myself to be a lifelong Democrat.
I would say the Democrats are representing me better than the Republicans would be.
I'm currently registered as a Democrat.
They represent my views a little bit better.
Socially, I just have democratic ideals that I feel are the preferred method of government.
I like Republicans more than Democrats because I don't think they're as annoying.
Excuse me, sir? Could you take a look at some of these pamphlets, please?
Oh, thanks, man.
We all got to do our part to stop these big corporations.
Yeah, no. Excuse me, yeah.
No, really, we need to do our part to stop these conservative fat cats. Dude, karma sucks. You'll be sorry.
Yeah, piss off.
I would say the Republicans are probably crazier, if you take the term crazier to mean more avid in the pursuit of their goals and more ideologically motivated than pragmatically motivated. But I think that Republicans' ideological goals are more valuable.
Oh, I have no problem with Republicans. I have a problem with some people, different people, Democrats or Republicans.
Oh, they're both crazy. If you can't see ideas from both sides, you're crazy. I mean, you have to be able to meet in the middle somewhere. I don't care who you are.
I think the Conservative Party is had the money most of the time, and I think that's why they win most of the time, is they've got a huge backing. And you got Halliburton with Cheney, you've got big oil companies with Bush, and I think it's been that way for decades.
They need to take care of businesses, to create jobs, to serve their constituents.
Republicans look out more for the individual or the individual companies, the small companies, rather than for the large companies.
Republicans are usually not very sympathetic towards realistic issues regarding the lower class.
I think the Conservative Party, from what I've seen, is more in it for themselves and personal wealth. At least the research I've done on it. That's how it appears to be.
I noticed that the Republicans in Congress want to filibuster.
more so than others.
Yeah, every time Obama tried to get a bill through.
You know, anytime something starts to change, the right uses fear to keep people within their party.
Man, I just don't know about the Republican Party anymore.
What the hell?
You know, I've always kind of seen the Democratic Party as leading by hope, and Conservative Party leading by fear. And you know, I, like a lot of people out there, bought into it.
I belong to the Republican Party because I was 18 years old when I registered to vote, and my political opinions at that time were geared towards that of the Republican Party. They have changed greatly. I'm now definitely considered more liberal because of my views regarding social policies in the United States.
I'm a Democrat right now because I feel like their ideals kind of are in line with what I value and what I hold important to myself. But sometimes, depending on who the candidate is, sometimes they may change.
I'm not really a member of either party. I kind of pick and choose. I probably lean more towards the Democratic Party, but it kind of varies on topic.
I remember taking a walk with my parents, and they were telling me the difference between Bush and Dukakis. And despite the fact that Dukakis is a really funny last name, the way that they explained it to me was that Democrats wanted to get into office and take money from some people and give it to other people. And so I remember thinking in my head, I was just imagining like somebody's family room, and the government, in this case the Democrats, were coming in and like stealing their coffee table, just taking it out of their house and going to give it to somebody else. And that's when I realized, like, well, that's wrong. They worked for that coffee table. The government shouldn't take it away. And that's essentially the Democrat philosophy.
It's what I call Robin Hood economics. They want to steal from the rich and give to the poor.
I guess I feel like everyone should pay their fair share. I don't look at it as stealing from the rich to give to the poor.
Democrats are just annoying. Their views are usually retarded and annoying.
I know some very nice Democrats, but on the national scene, they're just not nice people. They walk around, they're grumpy, all they see is injustice in the world. They hate people doing things on their own. They're just like, man, all these people are free and running around and I have no control over them, and it really pisses them off.
I think that the Democrats, tend to have a little bit more faith in a bigger, more centralized, more powerful government. I'm more of an independent, to be completely honest with you.
Independents are useless. They have no effect on political solutions.
It's only the independents that really have the ability to sway from one side to the other.
There are two defining characteristics of your average independents. The first is ignorance. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. They haven't taken the time to study the issues enough that they can actually make an educated decision on where they stand. The people that actually make a difference find themselves stake out territory on the political spectrum and say, this is what I believe in, this is what I want to fight for. So it's very easy for the independents to simply say, well, I could see either side of the issue, really, because I'm an enlightened independent. The truth is, you're simply a coward that lacks the courage of your convictions. The truth is that independents are the yellow-bellied disease of our political electorate.
I am a libertarian. First time I was told I was probably a libertarian, I told the guy, I'm not a liberal, I'm not a libertarian, because that's what I thought it was. I'd never heard of it before. So I went through, studied what libertarian views are, and that's what best fits my views.
I think that the two-party system is probably the best way to go.
If you go back to when the country was started, George Washington even said that the two-party system is what was going to ruin our country, and he's totally right.
It's well documented what George Washington thought of the two-party system. He strongly cautioned against factions developing within our country, and actually, in a lot of ways, strongly felt like it would be something that would tear our country apart.
Feel that the two-party system is ridiculous.
I think it works. I think it's proven that it works, and I think that it has evolved to where it's a two-party system plus smaller third parties and people who are straddling the line, people who cross party lines. Like our Constitution, it's built to be flexible. It's built to evolve without really changing the fundamentals.
I think the two parties are working just as the founders intended them to. They were never intended to be friends and just to get together and be one big, happy government kumbaya party.
On the next Real World,
I just don't know why we have to live like animals. I mean, like no one cleans up after themselves.
Hey you guys, whose dishes are these? These ones right here? Whose are they?
I just try and stay out of everyone's way, usually.
Hey, you! Did you just use the bathroom? The Republican is driving me crazy!
I don't get why she's always gotta be a bitch.
Why can't you lift the seat when you pee? And while we're at it, why can't you accept universal health care too?
Because I don't want to.
They should be fighting. The only time Republicans and Democrats agree is when they're spending our money. That's the one thing that keeps them together, is that they like screwing us. So I like to see it when the Republicans and the Democrats are fighting, because that means that something's actually going on. So this idea that, in Washington we have to be bipartisan and get along, I don't believe that's true. I think that there should be rigorous debate at all times.
No. That makes absolutely no sense.
How on earth does that not make sense?
No. No, 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 no.
Don't talk to us like we haven't done our research.
I don't care what research you've done. Your research has obviously been compromised.
Nothing has been compromised. We have scientists from around the globe telling us that a tomato is a fruit.
How on earth is it a fruit? It's a member of the vegetable family.
No, that's what I'm trying to tell you. It is not a vegetable.
This is ridiculous. This debate is over.
Limited government is my big thing. I think the government should get out of our way, get out of the way of the people, allow them to govern themselves. Let's go back to states' rights, get the federal government out of our business.
We need limited government, and we need to leave people alone, to let them live their lives. I don't think big government solves anything.
Get the hell out of our way and leave us alone. I would not trust, I don't trust any government agents or anyone who has a government job. I have a hard time even trusting them, even as persons, as individuals.
I think I'm very trusting. It's easy to be very cynical, but I think we all have to take care of ourselves and our own lives and our families and do our best, but I think that we have to do it within a framework that is really controlled by our government, no matter where we live or what we do.
A lot of things that are overlooked is our school system, our police, our firemen. That's all ran by federal government, and I don't think you're going to see many people scoff at the fire department or the police department because they do so many great things.
I do think there's a place for government. I think there's some of those that they do run well, taking care of our safety, the fire and police and all that stuff. And I think there's some that they need to continue to run. But for the most part, I think they need to stay very small.
I have tremendous faith and trust in the American government, no matter what, and really no matter what party is in control, to see us through.
I don't trust the government to solve any of my problems. I trust the government to create problems for me, and they do on a regular basis. They're not problem solvers. Reagan described them as an elementary canal. Just like a baby. It consumes things, and then it poops them out. That's what the government does.
Our government officials back there, if we had true limited government, there would be no reason to be going back day after day, year after year, making more and more and more laws. It's a bureaucracy. They create work for themselves.
Yeah, I took care of your termites, but you have another problem. Ants.
Ants?
Yeah.
When it comes to election time and the presidential debates begin, I can handle about 2 of them, and then I get really tired of them.
The presidential debates are not effective.
I'd rather read what they have to say than watch them, try to outdo one another.
There is such a thing as trying too hard, candidate, and I believe that that's what you're trying to do. For me, it comes naturally.
You're damn right there, Senator. It's a lot of hard work to maintain a country with decency and democracy.
I can imagine it would be if you weren't very good at it. What did you do before this job?
If I wasn't very good at it.
The candidates rarely actually interact in debate. They rarely actually clash with each other. You've got 2 guys, they got 2 podiums, and they're answering different questions, so it's just like a big speech-a-thon.
I'll tell you exactly what I think about immigration, son. This country's getting run over, and if it keeps going the way it's going, we're all going to have to learn another language. How many times do I have to go and order food and not understand what the hell he's saying?
You'd see somebody get asked a question, and I saw it with Sarah Palin a few times, where she would get asked a question, and she didn't necessarily know the answer. And so she would skate all around it and talk about all of these issues that were really important to her, and then say, okay, I'm done with the question.
They become very sly in the way they answer certain issues that I think that they might be uncomfortable answering, which is too bad. I think that they need to hold them to more of a yes or no answer type of system instead of kind of beating around the bush.
Okay, this is for the Republican candidate. What's your favorite color?
Well, first of all, that's a great question. Thanks for asking. That reminds me of a terrible mistake my opponent would make if he were elected. He has proposed to create a special tax on crayons of all colors. This tax would severely disadvantage all school children, making the cost of coloring simply outrageous for most families. Our school, our government, our educational system, and mostly our children would suffer immeasurably under this terrible idea. If I were elected, I would ensure that school children all across America would have access to crayons of every color he or she would need, thus guaranteeing improvement in our schools and raising that standard of living all across America. Thank you.
So what you're saying is that your favorite color is greenish orange? Fag.
In the speeches and the debates, they'll start monologuing about whatever. They'll start off on that and they'll end up in a totally different spot than what the question was actually pertaining to.
I'm not one of those that's going to say, "Oh, well, all politicians are going to lie to you," because that's what everybody's conditioned to say. "Oh, well, they just want to get elected." Well, some guys are legitimately honest. Unfortunately, there's fewer of them because anytime somebody says something that's true but happens to be controversial, the media gets all over their case and they get hounded out of office. So it's very difficult to be honest during a campaign. You kind of have to tone things down, be politically correct, be as vague as possible because you might say something that's going to offend some kind of an interest group or something like that.
I don't think they answer the question straightforward because I think it's always a lot more that goes into it, and answering a question straightforward is going to open the door for something else. So I think they kind of just give you that vague surface answer, like enough to satisfy you, and then move on to the next.
The Democrats answer the way they think the Democrats want them to answer, and the Republicans answer the way they think the Republicans want them to answer. And I think that has been proven because these people have gotten elected, and I'm not going to give you a specific, but they've gotten elected on things that they have stood hard and fast on in a debate, and then when they get elected, they aren't actually able to carry that out.
Like if they're campaigning, then they're going to make it seem as if they're looking out for the best interests of the country. But I think that in times they could just be looking out for the best interests of what works for them.
They kind of emphasize what they think will help them and downplay what they think would hurt them.
If you're really honest about where we are as a country, you're going to offend large swaths of the electorate. Like if you were to say, hey, Medicare and Social Security and Medicaid are going to bankrupt the country, and we're going to have to cut them back if we're going to, avert a fiscal disaster. You're going to offend old people, you're going to offend the AARP, but it's a fact of life. But politicians are not allowed to say that because then they're going to lose the granny vote. I mean, all these old people that are waiting around to punish anyone that dares threaten Social Security are going to come out of the woodworks to vote against a guy, throwing their dentures at his face.
I think the campaigning's gotten completely out of hand. It'd be nice if they could limit that to 60 days or something to that.
You have to declare 5 years before the election, and this time it was seemed especially early. I think I was like, politicking fatigue. By the end of it, I was tired of it.
I'm going to be the president in 2042.
I like the long campaign season. I'm a spectator of politics. And as if you're a huge football fan, and all of a sudden the football season was 2 years. So for me, the long political season is awesome.
When you ask Americans what's the most important problem facing the country, the economy, in all its different manifestations, overwhelmingly is at the top of the list. 50, 60, 70% month by month, we track this every month, will tell us something about the economy as the nation's biggest problem.
I don't really believe that Wall Street in and of itself was the problem.
I think that Wall Street is kind of like this club for the elite and rich and educated in America.
So, you guys want to be part of this super secret club, huh? Well, you gotta be super elite, educated, and you know what? You gotta be rich. You gotta have the money.
The recession hasn't really hurt my family too much, but my mom did work at a bank that went out of business.
For people like me, I'm very close to retirement age. It means that I have to work probably another decade than I planned. So it's hitting me personally. I don't know anybody who isn't affected by it.
I feel like me and my family have been pretty fortunate during this current economy, honestly, to not have been as affected as other people have been. I've taken this opportunity really to exercise and be an entrepreneur and to try and do my part to help stimulate the economy from a fundamental capitalist point of view.
I know people who are losing their homes. I know people who made bad decisions. I'm not sure that they should even be entitled to keep their homes. But I absolutely know that it's wrong that they lose their home and somebody else gets rich while they lose their home. That's wrong.
The current recession that we're in was not because, the greedy banks. It started a lot longer before that. The government has been telling the mortgage companies for decades that we want you to make loans to people who would ordinarily not be able to qualify for a house, because we have an agenda for the country that says that everyone should be able to own a house, regardless of how much they make, regardless of their credit. Everyone should own a house.
Well, what you qualify for, we have this one, stone and brick, 3,000 square feet. You also qualify for this one, same stone and brick, 4,000 square feet.
I'll take it.
You won't regret it.
So they've been telling the mortgage companies, go and lend to these people that you would normally not give a loan to, and if they default, we will cover that mortgage. So we've been giving implicit guarantees to mortgage companies for a long time, and encouraging them to lend to people that don't meet their normal criteria.
Listen, it's been several months, and we still haven't received a payment on your home.
Hey, don't look at me, man. He's the one with the mortgage. I told him not to get it. You selling me out, you son of a bitch?
Mr.
Saki.
Mr. Saki.
McSmellin.
Mr. Saki McSmellin.
McSmellin the third.
Whatever your name is. You're leaving us with no choice but to foreclose on the home.
What? I just need a little bit more time, please.
I think we've been patient enough.
Surely something could be arranged.
It shouldn't surprise anyone that, yes, you made bad loans to people who couldn't afford the houses and they defaulted on them, and the government then had to step in and bail out the companies that made the loans.
They basically reversed a law that they had done back after the Depression, the cause of depression, or helped cause the Depression, and they funneled all that money back into the banks. Let's see, banks, what do they think they're going to do with the money? They get greed, and you give them all that power, you say loan to all these people who don't deserve it?
You know, the greed that goes behind it. They'll give loans to anybody because of all the money they get when they make a loan.
I was amazed at when I bought this house at the difference in what they said I could borrow into what I felt comfortable borrowing. I mean, they seemed like they give you the world as far as money, but yet I realized I'd have to pay for that somehow, and you know.
I think I first realized that real estate was going to be a problem when a friend of mine told me that a friend of his, who was a pizza boy, had bought a $700,000 house based on completely insignificant income. And the way that we got into this mess is the government for a long time has decided that owning a home is a central part of the American dream.
I think there are certainly instances when the government has a moral obligation to ensure that a person is able to live somewhere.
Not necessarily McMansions, but I think that all people are entitled to have a safe place to live.
You don't have a right to a home. The rights that we have under the Constitution are that we can pursue happiness without unjust interference from the government or from other people. But there's no guarantee that for any material means.
I think there are certain fundamental rights in any wealthy nation, and we are a wealthy nation no matter how you look at it compared to the rest of the world, to have shelter, a safe place to live, shelter, sufficient food that's reasonably nutritious, to have an education, and to have health care. And, ideally work too. So.
Do I have the right to work in order to buy a home? Absolutely. Do I have the right to, get skills training and education so that I can afford, that I can find a better job to be able to afford a home? Absolutely. Is it my right to own a home? Absolutely not. The word right is thrown around way too much.
Excuse me. Will you marry me?
Me?
Uh-huh.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
No.
But I have the right to pursue happiness, and I need a wife. See, it says right here, I have the right to pursue happiness.
Please get away from me.
Is there a problem? Yeah, she's refusing to marry me and make me happy. Here.
Do you not understand his rights?
Thank you, Thomas Jefferson.
The current national debt can be figured many ways. Most people would say our current national debt is around $14 trillion. You hear lots of different numbers.
Gosh, it's in the trillions, isn't it?
Over 20 million.
Dare I say 300 trillion or so?
I know it's in the billions.
About 9 trillion, I think.
200 billion, I don't know.
Several billion.
Somewhere around $2 trillion or more.
If you start adding everything up in terms of what we're going to owe off of interest, it's about $54 trillion.
Some Americans, if you give trade-off questions, are willing to live with a higher deficit if it meant something very, very important on the other end. But in general, no politician goes wrong if he or she says, we need to reduce the deficit. That rings true with Americans, and most Americans know that national debt is not a great thing, and a lot of Americans are very worried about it.
Our national debt is growing rapidly. There's some calculator you can go to on the internet, and it's like amazing how fast it keeps climbing. But each individual household in America, it's like a lot. It's like, looks like a separate mortgage you have, your share of the debt.
My name is Kinsey, and apparently I'm addicted to debt. I'm 10 years old and I'm already in $43,000 in debt.
The debt that we're in and the consequences worry me. By my age and the age my husband and I are in, we'll get through it somehow. But my children and my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, I don't know where they're going to how they're going to get through it.
And the spending in Washington, just this, I think the administration now, Barack Obama's administration, is more into the spending than the Bush administration was.
One of the issues with the deficit, of course, is that it's related to the national economy. When we had a booming economy in the late 1990s because of the dot-com boom and all of that, guess what? We had no deficit, right? We had a balanced budget because we had so much money coming in from taxes. Now with the recession, obviously, there's much less tax money coming in, and to try to fix the recession, the government's spending more money. You know, there was a stimulus plan, the auto company bailout, banks, you know, trying to help out banks, TARP, these types of things, and opinions differ on those. Generally speaking, Americans have been more negative than positive, I would say, is probably fair to say.
I'm currently against the bailout just because I'm not informed enough on it, I feel.
My emphasis is in business. That's something that I pretend to know something about. And in business, you want to look at your return on the investment no matter what you do. See, if we have, as a person, I have a finite amount of money, whether it's for my personal life or for my business endeavors. And anytime I spend money, I have to ask myself, what am I getting for it? And even if I want to give my kid $10.
Hey, Dad, can I have $10?
May I ask what for?
Me and Trevor want to go see a movie.
If I agree to this little business proposal of yours, what exactly would the potential gain be?
What?
What date do you think the investment will start to see gain?
What are you talking about?
Simple. What return will I receive on my investment of capital?
I just want to go see a movie.
Obama's plan to fix the economy is bailouts, and I don't really think bailouts ever help. I mean, if you look back to the Great Depression, we didn't really come out of the Great Depression until the war started and the government stopped trying to help. I mean, yeah, it keeps you afloat, but it doesn't really fix the problem. It's just kind of putting a Band-Aid on a wound.
We've got people in Congress passing bills as if government was a source of money. It's not. Only the people are a source of money.
I've got it. We can print more money.
My God, that is brilliant!
The money doesn't come from anywhere. No one gives it to them. It literally is invented out of thin air.
Why should you and I as taxpayers bail out a failed company? I don't think it's right. We're contributing taxes for other reasons.
Nothing's too big to fail. The fact is that you need to let people succeed or fail on their own. I don't think there's any use in wasting federal tax dollars trying to prop up industries or companies that need to go bankrupt. Sometimes that's the best solution.
That's part of capitalism. The free market will always work itself out. You let if they're the big companies, the big dogs that are too big to fail, if they fail, let them fail.
If we let the larger corporations fail, it becomes such a complex societal issue, it's hard to know what would happen.
Would it hurt the country? Maybe short term, I think it would hurt the country. But where one business fails, another business gets started, and maybe they're going to be as big as a company that failed.
It would have been a shock to the economy, but in the long run, I think it would have allowed other companies to then make good decisions rather than decisions based on, hey, I need to get some bailout money.
If they couldn't make it work with the money they had, why should I think that they're going to make it work with more money?
And now, with the help of my magic wand, they shall magically return to 1. Ta-da! Shit. Hey, does anyone have a 50? I don't mess up if I have a 50.
How does going into a mass amount of debt stimulate an economy? Does that stimulate the average person's home when they go into massive amounts of debt? So, you know, if I'm in poverty, do I go take out a huge loan to help stimulate, you know, my personal situation? I mean, no.
If I could just get some money, I could triple it
within a decent amount of time.
So, you want us to loan you a bunch of money? And then you think you're just gonna magically make $1 million?
It's a good business plan. The numbers work.
It doesn't take money to make money. That's just a myth. You're gonna have to get your own money to start this crazy adventure of yours.
I think the bailouts were necessary. I think that we would have seen a much worse economy. If you're going to let huge corporations like Citigroup, AIG, just collapse, you're talking, I think unemployment would be much, much bigger than what it is now.
It fended off the collapse, and so it was valuable, and I understand some of the bigger institutions are paying it back. I'm a little curious about how they can pay it back so quickly, but I mean, I think it was the right thing to do.
The bailouts were well-intentioned. I've always been amazed that the people who put them together seem to not understand the banking industry.
Okay. I think we're about done here.
All right.
Now that we're done, who is he?
That's Tucker. He's a professional snowmobile racer.
Are you sure he's the most qualified for this?
Well, what else could we have done?
Couldn't we have found someone that knows something about banking or finance?
Well, I guess.
I believe that the bailouts were a necessary evil.
I think it's terribly unfortunate that we're in a situation where they're necessary. But again, it's an area where I guess I put a certain blind faith and trust in the government that they know better how to deal with it, and that our circumstances would be far worse if we didn't do them.
I think the political outlook for the bailouts was totally a political move.
All they want is control. They want more control over our lives and what we do because they feel they know what's best for us. They now control pretty much all of the American auto industry.
How many post office jokes do we need in a lifetime? They started before my lifetime started, and post office jokes will continue long after I am dead. It's going to be a shame if we now have General Motors jokes and Citibank jokes, to go along with the post office jokes, because the government never has and never will run a business effectively and efficiently.
GM and Chrysler have been selling the world horrible cars for decades. They're not attractive, they're not reliable, and now both of those companies are owned by the government. I see no reason why we should be propping them up.
Ford is the only one that I'm aware of that did not take the huge bailout as far as in that industry. That's the only place I will buy a car now, because I really disagree with them doing that.
There's a huge market for cars in this country, and if GM and Chrysler were to go out of business, that would just leave more room for other car companies to pop up in their place.
If the automakers went bankrupt and shut down, we'd lose a sixth of the economy right there.
I mean, if it's as bad as they say it was at the time, it sounds like they almost had to do something to keep the whole system from collapsing. And if that was true, they probably needed to do it. But I think because they did it, it should have given them certain say in how those companies were ran afterwards. I guess most of the money they are paying back. It sounds like they're are doing that, but we're currently in the issue right now is that they're now getting huge bonuses again.
Giving out large bonuses to executives from companies that have who have been given TARP money, I'm mixed on that.
For the most, I think most of the funds were used appropriately, but there's probably a good percentage that weren't used appropriately. When
they take that money and it goes to bonuses, it's not fixing anything that's wrong. It's just making the fat cats fatter.
They believe that the only way to keep top executives is to continue to pay them these huge bonuses. And so the money was a gift that they could do with what they wanted.
if they ran the businesses so poorly before that they needed big bailouts from the taxpayers, that, you know, they don't deserve big, you know, rewards now. I mean, if you know, what rewards are we getting as the American people that saved their butts? You know, now that they're doing better, they should have limits on that kind of thing.
That's such a bullshit argument. You know, on the one hand, we're like, oh, we have to save these companies by bailing them out. Now, I was against bailing them out in the first place, but now that the companies are coming back and they're, you know, the banks are starting to pay off the money that we bailed them out with, they're starting to be healthy again, and now we're whining about, you know, them compensating their employees. It's none of our business. That is the downside of giving corporations large sums of public money. They're going to pay their executives and their top people large bonuses and salaries based upon their performance. And I don't think there's any problem with that.
What I think about global warming is real. That the world is over abusing natural resources in every part of the globe.
I think that for the most part, global warming is all propaganda.
I think it's a myth.
Serious issue.
The polar bears are gonna die.
I think it's a joke. Global warming doesn't exist. It's a joke.
I think global warming is a very serious issue.
I think it's a very dangerous thing that we got to do something about.
That's a fun topic. It's an easy topic. I don't believe in it.
Global warming is not something that I think needs immediate attention.
I think that global warming is happening.
I don't think the problem is necessarily global warming per se. I think it's climate change.
The major trends that we and other polling organizations have seen in recent years is lessened concern about global warming. Exactly the opposite effect that you might have thought.
I think that there is global warming and it's influenced. I mean, I don't know everything about it and that, but I think we're naive to think that us humans here on the earth aren't impacting it at all, that it's just some natural cycle and we're not affecting it.
I think it's real, and I think that it's scary.
I think it's a serious issue, and I watched 2012 and The Day After Tomorrow, and I love both of them.
Global warming is affecting us, and if we don't wake up soon, what is in Haiti and Chile and the tsunami that was in India will be at our front door.
Can I come in?
I wish that more people would pay attention to things that people like Al Gore are saying about it. The people who aren't taking it seriously are going to be seriously shocked when they find out that it's actually real, it's actually happening.
While it might not be as big of an issue as some liberals paint it, it is still an issue.
I have to give Al Gore credit. He took a theory that was false and got the entire world to accept it, hook, line, and sinker. And it's really incredible for a guy that is about as charming as a cactus.
I've seen the graphs and the charts that Al Gore has used. You know, when you're watching on TV, I mean, yeah, it's pretty stark, and you're like, wow, there's some really bad stuff going on there. Honestly, with statistics, you can say anything. You can make whatever your opinion is seem true with statistics. And that's what he did in that movie. That stuff isn't real.
I don't know how many people saw it, but it absolutely inspired me to make some changes in my life to just be a little greener.
After warning us that the world is coming to an end, they still fly around in corporate jets. They still live in huge houses. We're being asked to drastically change our lives by a bunch of granola-eating hypocrites. Al Gore has become immensely wealthy off of perpetuating a fraud on the people of the world. But the truth is that the man is full of shit.
Winning the Nobel Prize, of course, for his work in the environment and publishing the best-selling book and his movie and all of the talk about global warming, I think the expected idea on many people's parts would be that Americans would be more and more concerned about global warming and wanting to do something about it. But we saw as the decade ended in 2009 and then into 2010, we've actually seen less worry about global warming. More people telling us that it's exaggerated, more people telling us that they don't think the effects of global warming will be seen in their lifetime and so forth.
Al Gore is not an amiable guy. He's not a credible guy. He's a fat hack with a beard, and yet this guy is considered the world's leading expert on the science of global warming.
And all people say, oh, that's a bunch of crock. You listen to it, fine. That day is coming, and you're going to wonder why. Because we're abusing everything.
I don't think that the scientific validity of the evidence for global warming can be disputed any further.
The fact that there's enough consensus on either direction means if there is, it's not a big enough deal to worry about.
I think the global climate may be changing, but do we really know for sure it's because of man-made stuff? Do we know for sure? If we know for sure, then why these guys that supposedly came up with the whole solution, why are they lying about their, all that email and all that crap? I mean, why are they lying about their, where's the stats? Show us the stats. I mean, you get to where you don't trust anybody.
When we found out that the lead researchers in global warming at the University of East Anglia have been deliberately hiding data about the cooling trend that we've been in for 10 years, global warming has actually stopped over the last decade.
They have their scientists who say, yes, global warming is an issue, and they have their their documentation to prove it. Well, there's as many scientists on the other side who are saying it's not an issue, and they have the documentation also to prove that, but we never see that.
There's a lot of discussion out there in some circles about, scientists fabricating evidence and those types of scandals that have come out in some instances. Also, we had a lot of snow in parts of the United States, of course, in the early months of 2010, and that may have affected people's perception to say, hey, we don't have global warming because it's colder than ever where I am.
It may not be man-made. It might be cycles that our Earth goes through, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, but at the same time, I'm not going to sit there and scream for either side because nobody knows.
The world, for the most part, takes care of itself, if you understand what I mean. Mother Nature is a greater force than we are, and if you have a religious belief, then certainly that plays into who's overlooking the globe.
Sir, it looks like the Earth is getting slightly warmer.
Keep your eye on it.
I'm not a believer in global warming being caused by the pollutants.
I believe part of it is natural changes in the environment, but I also think probably a majority of it is man-caused, man-made.
I'm kind of a skeptic on one side, but on the other side you look at it and you say, everyone who seems to be an expert in this field says we're having global warming and that humans are a big problem of the cause of that. Our CO2 productions are a huge cause of that.
I think humans are the part contributors to global warming.
That pollution and everything, I don't really too much deal with it, but I wish they do whatever they plan to do, hurry up and do it and get it over with.
I don't think it's just by chance that glaciers are melting and water levels are rising. I definitely think it has to do with pollution.
To be honest, with all the cold weather we've been having, sometimes I say, what's this about global warming? But then I know better than that because up in the very northern parts of the world, there is significant melting of the ice, and it's going to have a drastic effect.
The climate change, that's why you'll see no snow in Vancouver for the Winter Olympics while you're seeing record-breaking snow totals in Dallas and Georgia and places like that.
We just had like 18 inches of snow. We never had any blizzard like that since I don't know when. And I think that's a result of global warming, so I think it's a serious issue people need to be aware of.
The global warming crowd would have us believe that any rise in temperatures is due to human carbon emissions that lead to higher world temperatures. But their argument also is any time that it gets colder, that's also due to global warming, which is sort of amazing because regardless of if it gets hotter or colder, it's due to global warming. So no matter what happens, they're right.
MSNBC had, they were talking about the snowstorms that are happening out east and saying how that is that proves global warming.
One of the things that I get really angry about is when people complain about how cold it is and they say, well, that's proof that it's not global warming. But if they did their research, they would see that it actually is a part of global warming with drastically lower temperatures and drastically higher temperatures.
And it was, I mean, it was hilarious watching this newscaster try and explain it, because I mean, you could tell that even he didn't really get it or believe it. He's just kind of like, the snowfall is, you know, and it getting colder out there is, it leads us to understand and believe that global warming truly does exist. It's like a second ice age. It's like, whatever.
I think that if we don't all make some really huge changes fast, then the Earth is not going to be happy with us.
We started an organization called the Clean Green Tour, Environmental Educational Entertainment, a way to educate people about the environment by entertaining them.
My one note.
And using soccer, music, and arts as a catalyst.
Be green! Everybody be green!
Whether the Earth is warming up or cooling down, and whether or not that's a natural process that is going to just cycle like it has for millions or billions of years, or whether we as humans really have to change the way we live to limit our carbon footprints and our production of carbon dioxide, or face disaster, is a question that everyone should be concerned about.
There are so many things that people can do to help with global warming. You can buy energy efficient light bulbs, turn the lights off in your house when you're not there.
Turn the light bulb off, keeping your air conditioning at a reasonable level during the summer instead of trying to have an ice box in your house. Your heater in the winter at a reasonable level. Recycling.
I try and recycle as much as I can, even though that's not always the best thing for them because they haven't found a great way to reuse the stuff that we recycle. But I also try and use less electricity, walk when I can, not always drive my car.
They want us to stop driving. They want us to stop living comfortable lives. They just want us to live in the woods and frolic, I guess.
Driving cars could be a threat as far as to the ozone. Yeah. Are we going to get rid of cars? No, it's never going to happen. Cows, they contribute more to emissions that affect the ozone more than cars do. So are we going to get rid of the cows?
Bottom line, man is killing the planet, which is why I keep my carbon footprint to 0. We need to be in touch with Mother Nature. We all have to do our part.
Great. This is going to be a lot of fun. Walking through miles, covered in blood.
Yeah. Kinda wish we had a car.
She didn't have any idea of the tax on the cows, I'm sure.
No, never heard of it. What does that have to do with global warming?
Because they're saying the methane gas that the cows emit needs to be taxed.
Oh.
And the tax
I agree with you that that's crazy.
They're totally serious. And the tax will be more than the profit.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. Ranchers aren't the people to hit.
I definitely think that if we made public transportation more available, if they were to have high quality public transportation, people would be more willing to do that if they were encouraged to.
I think Americans are spoiled and have created the problem, want their big cars that are gas guzzlers.
I don't think cars necessarily contribute a huge amount to the so-called global warming epidemic.
Driving less would not make a difference. What would make a difference is making volcanoes not erupt. So, I mean, I think that government should work on programs to like help cap volcanoes to make them so they don't erupt anymore, because like they're the huge culprit with carbon dioxide emissions.
I think on the scale of all of the threats to the Earth, if we made the big list of all of the things that threaten the Earth, global warming has to be pretty near the bottom of that list.
It's all government's responsibility, not just the United States.
So now what do we do about global warming?
I've got it. We can raise taxes.
That is brilliant! Yeah!
I think the government does have a responsibility to deal with global warming, or really anything that affects its citizens. You have to keep your country strong, and one of the things that we have to cope with right now is the effects of global warming. So government should be involved in it.
Soldiers, we have a new enemy. An enemy more obscure and unidentifiable than any we've fought in the past. This enemy uses sneakier tactics and has been invading our land for years. And it's right under our noses. Today, the President declared war on global warming. We have pulled troops from their current engagements and have them ready to roll from around the globe.
I'm not very worried about financial aspects of global warming simply because I feel that we have the money to solve the problems that we need to. And I think a lot of it isn't really putting tons of money into things. I think it's just stopping practices and finding alternate ways of doing things.
To jump onto a bandwagon very quickly, as many politicians have, I think is an unwise move, because we're going to be spending an awful lot of money on things that haven't been proven to really be able to improve the environment.
I feel like it's the government's responsibility to not sacrifice American trade interests in order to fix global warming on the international stage. I think that global warming should be attacked as an international issue, because it is an international issue, by a suitable international body. And with that said, I don't know that the one exists yet.
The government, even the federal government, would have limited ability to really change. It's got to be a global process. Everyone in the world would have to, if it's something that we as humans have to change, it's got to be the world.
So basically, Mr. Hu Jintao, we feel that it shouldn't just be us trying to take care of this crisis. China has its fair share of emissions as well. So what do you say? Can we count on you to help us out with this?
China, they're far worse polluters than we are. I've been to Kuwait and Iraq. Their air is so much dirtier than ours.
I feel like the government has a responsibility, so do individuals and private businesses.
Business on their own won't be cleaner. It'll take government to force business to be cleaner.
Have a nice day.
Just a minute, please. Don't forget to tell our guests about the new government-enforced rules. You can shower with lukewarm water, none of this hot shower wasting energy crap. You can flush your toilet once per day. I don't care how many times you go or whether it's number 1 or number 2. Toilets waste energy, period.
I think they get the idea.
Just a minute, please. We're doing a little green regulation. You get 30 minutes of television usage. It helps bring down electricity.
There is a piece of shit in my toilet.
Just a minute, please.
I mean, if we go back to cleaner air, the Clean Air Act, and a lot of the things, it wasn't businesses that all of a sudden decided that they needed to have less emissions and they need to have cleaner cars. It was government and through policy that those things happened in the past, and I expect that through government we can have even more improvements in the future.
I know that in Ontario, the province that I lived in, it was law to recycle. You had to recycle glass, paper, everything, and right before I moved, it was also made a law that you also had to compost. So you weren't allowed to throw anything away that is compostable, and I think that even something little like that, it can be a really big step. I've noticed that it is ridiculously hard to find a place to recycle, like take your recycling, especially for, you know, glass and everything. And I think that if it was made a little bit more accessible and a little bit more convenient, that more people would definitely participate.
I strongly feel that corporations should be taxed for the amount of garbage, waste, pollution, etc. What they do to our environment affects every single one of us. Of course they should be taxed, they should be consequenced.
To force anyone's hand to take care of the earth or to do their part with emissions, and I think that's a complete joke. It's idiotic, and people who believe that, I think, need to jump off a cliff.
My freedom is being taken away. As far it's all about the green, you know, keeping green and all that stuff. They want to come in and regulate my power usage and my energy usage.
This is our planet's final frontier. An inner world.
And that is enough television for you. Oh, that is more than enough water for you.
There's no place for that, and that doesn't make any sense to me.
We could say